In the serene shade of the ancient Bodhi tree, Buddha sat, his presence calm and unwavering, radiating wisdom. I approached with a heart heavy with confusion, burdened by desires that clouded my mind and led me astray. Master, I began, my voice trembling with urgency. I am trapped by desires that never cease, and my spirit suffers. Buddha turned his gaze to me, eyes reflecting infinite compassion, and said, "Desire is the root of much suffering. Tell me, Master," I pleaded, "how can I rid myself of this endless craving that binds me so tightly?" Buddha gestured towards the earth, his fingers lightly tracing the patterns of the soil beneath him with deliberate motion. Once, Buddha began, a man living in a small village sought wealth and status with relentless effort and unyielding determination. One day, as Asita strolled through his garden, he noticed a single lotus flower wilting by the pond. Disturbed by this, he summoned his gardeners and ordered them to replace it with the freshest bloom available. He gathered gold, precious stones, and ornate cloths, each item filling him momentarily but soon leaving him restless again. Buddha's words painted vivid imagery in my mind as I imagined the man surrounded by the opulence he had accumulated. The man journeyed to distant lands, braving dangers and hardships to acquire more. Yet he grew no more content, Buddha said. But Master, I interrupted. Wasn't he satisfied when he finally obtained so much? Didn't his treasures bring him peace? Buddha smiled gently and replied, "No, my dear one. His cravings only grew stronger with each possession he brought into his life. This is the nature of desire," Buddha continued. "Like fire, it grows when fed, consuming more than it gives in return." I lowered my gaze, reflecting on my own insatiable habits, feeling the weight of Buddha's words sink into my consciousness. One day, Buddha said, the man discovered a rare gem that glittered like the stars, unmatched in beauty and value. Yet as he admired it, his ox faltered under the burden of the heavy treasures he had collected over years. Love is not possession, it is liberation. The disciples exchanged glances, each grappling with the concept of clinging. Its presence felt keenly in their own lives. The man, consumed by grief and frustration, realized the futility of his actions too late. As his treasures scattered, I felt a knot form in my chest, seeing myself mirrored in the tragic tale of the man's unyielding greed. "Master," I said softly, "are we all not like the man, endlessly chasing and burdening ourselves for fleeting satisfaction?" Buddha nodded, his expression serene, and replied, "Indeed, my child, we are caught in this cycle. But we can break free. But how?" I asked desperately, seeking guidance. How do we overcome the grasp of desire that seems so powerful? Buddha placed his hand lightly on his heart and said, "The first step is to recognize the impermanence of all things. Everything we desire," Buddha continued, "is subject to change and decay. Just as all life follows its natural course, attachment to impermanent things binds us to suffering. For when they fade, we are left with emptiness and pain." "Master," I said, "your wisdom is clear, but my mind struggles to let go of these attachments so deeply ingrained." Buddha looked at me with compassion and replied, "The mind can be tamed with practice, like a wild horse guided with care. Through meditation," Buddha explained, "you can observe the rising and falling of thoughts, realizing their transient and illusory nature. Focus not on grasping what you lack, but on nurturing gratitude for the blessings already present within your life." He gestured toward the horizon, where the sun now illuminated the land, banishing shadows that had dwelled in the night. "Embrace change, and you find liberation from pain. For acceptance brings clarity and resilience in the face of life's storms." Peace, Buddha said, is cultivated when you let go of the incessant need for more. Embracing simplicity and contentment, But Master, I inquired, what if desires return, as they often do, tempting me and weakening my resolve to remain free? Buddha gazed at the horizon, where the sun began its descent, painting the sky in hues of gold and amber. Remember this, Buddha said. Desires may arise like waves in the ocean, but they will pass if you do not cling to them. Observe them without judgment, Buddha advised. And remind yourself of the suffering they bring when they consume your mind. As you practice mindfulness, Buddha continued, you will grow stronger, and the grip of desires will weaken. Dissolving like morning mist, his words felt like a soothing balm, calming the turmoil within me and offering a path to the liberation I sought. Lastly, Buddha said, seek not to conquer desire alone, but surround yourself with those who encourage and support your growth, in the company of wise and compassionate beings. Buddha concluded, your journey becomes lighter, and your heart finds greater solace. The tree does not lament its losses, Buddha said, his tone filled with compassion and understanding. It accepts its impermanence, knowing that change brings renewal, transformation, and growth. Through the tranquil night, I felt a seed of peace planted in my heart, its roots beginning to anchor and grow. I thanked Buddha, bowing deeply, and left the grove with a renewed sense of purpose and clarity in my life's journey. Another day, in the golden light of dawn, Buddha sat near a serene pond, surrounded by disciples seeking his wisdom. I approached him with a heart heavy from anger, unable to find peace amidst the turmoil consuming my spirit. Master, I began, my voice trembling with frustration. Anger controls me, clouding my mind and leading me to harm others. Buddha turned his gaze toward the rippling water, his presence calm and grounding, and said, anger burns like fire. Tell me, Master, I pleaded, how can I extinguish this fire that consumes me so fully and causes endless suffering? Buddha gestured toward the horizon, where sunlight bathed the earth, symbolizing renewal and hope amidst the struggles of life. Let me share a story, Buddha said, his voice steady and soothing, about a farmer consumed by anger's destructive force. Remember this, Buddha said, addressing the group as a whole, his voice resonating with clarity. Change is not to be feared, for it is the river that carries you to new horizons. Buddha paused, his gaze sweeping across the attentive faces of his disciples, their thoughts etched in their expressions. Disciples, Buddha said, the king's transformation holds a truth treasure. Serve not the soul when hoarded for pride. True wealth, he continued, lies in its ability to meet needs, foster connections, and bring peace to the present. An empty chest can teach more than a full one when it symbolizes contentment and the joy of enough. Let this story be a mirror for your own hearts. Seek not abundance but the fulfillment of meaningful purposes. The grove, under the starry night, seemed to breathe as one with the wisdom imparted by the Buddha's words. Buddha paused, allowing the weight of the story to sink into the hearts of those gathered. As silence enveloped the grove, the farmer, blinded by anger, inflicted harm on himself, leaving his family destitute and his future uncertain. Buddha said, I felt a pang of recognition, realizing how anger had often led me to harm not just others but also myself. Master, I said softly, anger feels powerful, like it must be expressed to find relief. Yet it only brings destruction. Buddha nodded, his expression serene, and replied, indeed, my child, anger thrives on impulse, but it can be transformed through wisdom. How? I asked desperately, seeking guidance. How do I control this force that feels overwhelming and beyond my ability to manage? Buddha placed his hand lightly on his chest and said, the first step is to pause and breathe, creating space between thought and action. His children, once eager for his embrace, barely recognized the man who stood before them with treasures in hand. His wife, once his pillar of support, spoke to him with the cool detachment of a stranger. But Master, I inquired, when anger burns hot and compels action, how can I resist its pull and remain centered? Buddha gestured toward the pond, where lotus flowers bloomed amidst still waters, symbolizing purity and resilience in challenging circumstances, like the lotus rising above muddy waters. Buddha said, you must cultivate patience and inner peace to withstand anger's storms. Patience, Buddha continued, is not passive but active, requiring strength to endure discomfort and choose kindness over reaction. Master, I said, patience seems difficult in moments of anger when emotions cloud reason and amplify the desire for retaliation. Buddha looked at me with compassion and replied, strengthen patience through practice, like training a muscle that grows with effort and persistence, through loving kindness. Meditation, Buddha advised, direct your thoughts toward goodwill for yourself and others, transforming anger into empathy and understanding. As Dhavala devoted himself to those around him, he felt a joy unlike any he had known in his travels. The village thrived, not because of Dhavala's treasures, but because of the bonds he rekindled through his selfless actions. Disciples, Buddha said, the pebble teaches us that pursuits distant from our core relationships leave ripples but no fulfillment. True success aligns with the heart, ensuring that our efforts strengthen, rather than weaken, the ties that bind us. Let Dhavala's transformation guide you in recognizing the value of closeness over the fleeting allure of distant riches. The disciples absorbed the story, its gentle wisdom resonating deeply, like ripples across the still waters of their minds. Buddha's voice softened into silence, and the grove seemed to hold its breath, as if contemplating the depth of his words. Lastly, Buddha said, surround yourself with those who embody peace and wisdom, drawing strength and inspiration from their presence. In the company of virtuous beings, Buddha concluded, your journey toward inner harmony becomes lighter, and anger finds no place to dwell. Then, Buddha said, a traveler passed by and saw the man sitting amidst the ashes, his sorrow and anger holding him in place. The villagers exchanged glances, their curiosity piqued by the arrival of the traveler, their anticipation growing. Through the tranquil day, I felt a seed of peace planted in my heart, its roots beginning to anchor and grow. I thanked Buddha, bowing deeply, and left the grove with a renewed sense of purpose and clarity in my life's journey. Another day, as twilight cast its gentle glow over the grove, Buddha sat quietly, his presence serene and steady. I approached him with confusion clouding my thoughts, unable to understand why ignorance continued to bind me despite my efforts. Master, I began, my voice trembling with uncertainty. I seek wisdom, yet ignorance entangles me, preventing clarity and understanding. Buddha turned his gaze toward the horizon, where the last rays of sunlight lingered, and said, ignorance clouds the truth. Tell me, Master, I pleaded, how can I unravel this web of ignorance that obstructs my path toward enlightenment? Buddha gestured toward the moon rising above the treetops, symbolizing light piercing through the darkness of night and confusion. Let me share a story, Buddha said, his voice calm and grounding, about a man caught in the web of ignorance. It is not in the ashes but in your willingness to move beyond them. The farmer bowed deeply, tears streaming down his face, his sorrow mingling with hope, a reflection of the lessons learned from Buddha's teachings. The man relied on the paths he knew, fearing to tread unfamiliar trails. Though he longed to escape the forest, Buddha said, day by day, the man wandered in circles, convinced he would someday find the way out by sheer determination. But ignorance kept him bound, for he never paused to question whether the paths he chose led him anywhere new. Buddha paused, his gaze steady, allowing the weight of the story to settle into the hearts of those gathered around him. He gestured toward the hill in the distance, its peak illuminated by sunlight, a beacon of hope for those willing to climb. To embrace change, Buddha said, is to climb the hill, to seek the valley, and to rebuild with courage and purpose. The villagers nodded, their determination growing, their minds focused on the steps they would take to overcome their loss. Buddha turned to a young boy, his face etched with sadness, clutching a burnt fragment of his family's home tightly in his hands. I felt a pang of recognition, understanding how my resistance to seeking help had often left me wandering in confusion. Master, I said softly, are we all like the man, bound by ignorance and hesitant to embrace the guidance offered to us? Buddha nodded, his expression serene, and replied, indeed, my child, ignorance binds us, but humility and openness can lead us to freedom. But how? I asked desperately, seeking guidance. How can I overcome this resistance and see beyond the illusions of ignorance? Buddha placed his hand lightly on his knee and said, the first step is to recognize ignorance as a veil, not a truth. Ignorance, Buddha continued, is not permanent. It arises when the mind clings to false assumptions and avoids seeking deeper understanding. Through inquiry, Buddha explained, you can question your beliefs, revealing the gaps and misconceptions that keep you bound to ignorance. But Master, I inquired, what if my ignorance feels insurmountable, leaving me doubting my ability to grasp the truth? Buddha gestured toward the moonlight reflecting on the still waters of a nearby pond, symbolizing clarity and illumination amidst stillness. Be patient, Buddha said, for wisdom grows with time and effort, like the lotus blooming slowly but beautifully in muddy waters. Patience, Buddha continued, allows you to remain open, seeking truth even when doubt and confusion cloud your understanding. Master, I said, patience seems difficult when ignorance feels overwhelming, making the pursuit of wisdom seem unattainable. Buddha looked at me with compassion and replied, strengthen patience by nurturing your curiosity and trusting in the process of discovery. My disciples, Buddha said, it is not enough to speak of renewal. You must embody it in your actions and your thoughts. The disciples nodded. Their understanding deepened, their resolve strengthened to live the lessons they had learned through their master's guidance. The second step, Buddha continued, is to seek wisdom in the company of those who embody knowledge and virtue, just as the guide carried a lantern. Buddha said, allow wise teachings and mentors to illuminate your path forward. But Master, I asked, what if I doubt the wisdom offered to me, fearing it may lead me astray? Buddha gazed at the horizon, where the moon rose higher, illuminating the grove with a soft, steady light of guidance. Trust is built through discernment, Buddha said, by listening carefully and questioning with sincerity, seeking alignment with truth and reason. Find those who embody compassion and humility, Buddha advised, for their presence will encourage your own growth and understanding. As you practice humility, Buddha continued, you will free yourself from arrogance, allowing wisdom to flow unhindered through your heart. His words felt like a soothing balm, calming the turmoil within me and offering a path to the liberation I sought. Lastly, Buddha said, cultivate gratitude for the opportunity to learn and grow, recognizing ignorance as a stepping stone to wisdom. In every experience of confusion, Buddha concluded, lies the potential for clarity, if you approach it with an open and curious mind. As the night deepened and stars shimmered above, I sat in quiet contemplation, Buddha's teachings echoing within me. I resolved to begin my path toward freedom from ignorance, trusting in the wisdom of the Buddha to guide me forward. Through the tranquil night, I felt a seed of peace planted in my heart, its roots beginning to anchor and grow. I thanked Buddha, bowing deeply, and left the grove with a renewed sense of purpose and clarity in my life's journey. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.